Hey, everybody, welcome to the Boostly podcast. This is the podcast that gives hosts the tools, the tactics, the trainings, and most importantly, the confidence on how you can go out there and get some more direct bookings. My name is Liam Carolan, and today we are diving behind the host with another successful and interesting short-term rental host. Today, we've got Ryan Duffy from Duffy Homes Realty and Ozark Mountain Vacations. I'm really excited to dive in, first of all, because he's got an awesome book direct sticker in his background, so I know he's on board with the direct book and movement, but also he's an ex-firefighter and he's got a really exciting project to tell us about, as well as some awesome short-term rental homes. So Ryan, welcome along. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for taking the time, Liam. Appreciate it.
So introduce yourself, your business, where you are in the world, and what sort of model that you use and how many units. It's quite a few there.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. No, I'll dive into that. So I'm a licensed broker in the state of Arkansas and Missouri. My wife and I own Duffy Homes Realty here in Branson, Missouri. We also own Ozark Mountain Vacations, which is kind of our branding for our own personal vacation rentals. And we're starting to branch off into a little bit of project or property management for some of our clients down in the area that we live in. So we live actually in Omaha, Arkansas, which is about 20 minutes south of Branson. And at the moment, we have 2 active rentals. We've got 5 under construction in various stages also. And then we've got some plans to do some other kind of cool, interesting developments.
I guess, what do you prefer to do? Obviously, you've got developments, like you say, you've got 2 sort of sides to the business. What excites you the most?
Doing something different in the short-term rental sphere. So here in the Branson area, it's actually heavily restricted. You know, if you're on the Missouri side, there's county restrictions or city restrictions. And with that, the type of rentals that we have predominantly in our inventory, they're all pretty similar. You know, you've got a lot of condominium, you've got a lot of the larger lodge complexes. And since they're restricted to certain zoning requirements, you know, they're kind of crammed on top of each other. So what I like to do down where we're at, just on the other side of the border in Arkansas, is to really embrace the fact that we're not in resort settings. We're not crammed on top of each other, and provide a guest experience that is you know, just very different in that regard. You know, so you can have a larger yard, you can go out and look at the stars, not have a bunch of light pollution. You know, I grew up in Chicago, and, you know, I didn't see a shooting star for the first time until I was like 18, you know, in basic training, looking up in Oklahoma, like, wow, there's so many stars up there. So when we first moved down here, you know, that was one of the things that blew me away. You know, down in Arkansas, there's no light pollution. You just look up and you see endless stars. And, you know, and so when we would go on vacation, that'd be something that would really resonate with us. And that's one of the small things that we're trying to integrate into our guest experience. You know, we're really hammering the fact that we're close to an, you know, international dark sky site. And we've got all these outdoor activities that you can enjoy between Table Rock Lake and the various creeks and rivers and caves and all this stuff in our area. But we're also 20 minutes from Branson, which is a major tourist attraction that brings in 10.5 million visitors per year. So we can kind of have the best of both worlds.
What aspects internally of the properties attracts your perfect guest avatar, and who is your perfect guest avatar?
So predominantly we're hosting family groups, and it's just a couple different avatars, really. So we've got a 4-bedroom rental at the moment that sleeps 14. So typically it's, you know, like double family units that'll stay there. We've got like a large dedicated bunk room space, and then a couple of different master suites. So that's what we're seeing there is kind of the family dynamic. You know, there's a private hot tub, there's a big private fire pit area. And then our other rental we've got at the moment, it's just a 2-bedroom couples retreat. So, you know, 2 very different avatars, but you know, that's kind of what we're gearing after is, you know, there's these 2 different main demographics that are coming here. And we feel like they're couples, and then there's larger families. And within that, you know, just trying to identify, you know, what people would need in that space. So, and again, for us, going back to privacy and separation and nature, you know, trying to create spaces where you can lay out in the yard and you don't have to, you know, have cars driving by in front of you, you know, so that sort of thing.
I definitely want to dive into more about you and how you got started in the business, but I'm going to segue slightly into, am I right in thinking you had sort of the real estate before the short-term rentals?
Not really.
No.
My wife got into real estate before I did. So, you know, before we moved here, I was a Chicago fireman, And I did that for, I had 9 years on the job. I had a series of back injuries that led to a bunch of surgeries, and really that's what prompted us to change our life and uproot and come here. And so when we did that, my wife Shay and I have always had this dream and this passion to get involved in real estate and become developers in some capacity, but we just didn't really know how to manifest that. So she had a background as an interior designer, and as a firefighter, I had no real practical real estate experience. But we moved here, and I recovered enough to be able to get back to work. And the logical thing to do after recovering from back surgery, I guess, would be to get into construction, which is what I did. Made no sense, but I had an opportunity at the time to mentor under somebody who had a lot of construction experience, and basically was able to just get taken under his wing, and we built 2 houses from the ground up, just me and him. So I got a feel of every aspect of the construction world, the processes that go into it. And in the meantime, Shay got her real estate license immediately and started trucking away at that. And with real estate in particular, it's really about who you know and your connections to the community. And we had just moved 550 miles away and started a new life, so we knew nobody here, and we had no real connections to the community. So it took quite a while for that business to get up and going. And but she was persistent, and she she was pregnant at one point, 8 months pregnant in August, going door knocking, trying to drum up business, and so really bootstrapped, that for her own brand, and really learned a lot in the process. And throughout that process, she started working with short-term rental investors, and she started seeing P&L. She started seeing booking reports, and we reached a point in our lives where at this time now, 3 years after we moved here, 2 years, 2.5 years approximately, we'd started outgrowing our house, and we had a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house that we kept telling ourselves over and over again as our family grew, like, this is a great place to vacation, but I wouldn't, it's not really comfortable to raise our kids here. The kids' bedrooms were on the second floor. We were in the basement, so it was, 3 times a night, run up 2 flights of stairs to change a diaper, and there's no garage, no storage. But we kept having this conversation over and over. It's like, oh, do we build an addition? Do we build a garage? And she comes home from work one day and she goes, I think if we put this place on Airbnb, we'd make like 30 grand a year. And I said, BS, there's no way, and she's like, no, I'm serious. And I'm like, well, we're in Omaha, Arkansas. No one's ever heard of Omaha, Arkansas. She's like, yeah, but we're 20 minutes outside of Branson. We're 5 minutes to Table Rock Lake. We've got a full service marina at the end of our road. And best of all, there's no restrictions where we live. She's like, if you go 10 minutes north, you can't do that. Like, you just can't. So she convinced me, and a good friend of ours, we had a business partner at the time that I was doing construction with, convinced us to purchase another property up the road from where we were living. And it was a metal shop house, just a big metal barn with a 2-bedroom apartment built into half of it. And the agreement was that we'd purchase this through our construction business, and we'd use basically the open dirt floor shop spot to store construction materials and his tractor and all this. And then our family would rent back the 2-bedroom apartment. So it would cash flow the thing, so that we could convert our home into a full-time short-term rental to do that kind of experiment. And that was mid 2019. So we got up and running live right around Labor Day 2019, expecting to do about 30 grand a year in revenue. And the first year just blew it out of the water. I mean, it was like $53,000. Second year was like $82,000, just blew us away, and it was kind of like a watershed moment for us. Like we're like, wow, like this isn't like a little, hobby. Like, this is a real industry, I mean, within 6 weeks of going live on the short-term rental platforms, I stopped taking bids for remodel jobs, and I started real estate school. And I just dedicated, full time to taking care of and managing our one short-term rental. And then within 6 months, we were under contract for our second one. And then it just snowballed from there, as it does. So, but that was an interesting progression.
Ryan, I've really enjoyed this podcast. There's sometimes we're sometimes struggling for sort of the questions and the flow, but this has flowed really naturally. What I've taken away, and hopefully the people listening has taken away from this, is that first of all, hospitality really does give back. All the things that people can do to ensure they have success from the start, which is things like the better quality worktops, labeling stuff up, making sure they've got touch day guides, making sure they're using dynamic pricing. I think that was a really important point, just backtracking to that you were worried that you had to use this outside company, whereas as hosts, we've got all the power at our fingertips using some of the awesome technology. And of course, a lot of that is discussed in the book Direct Blueprint by Mark Simpson as well. There's a lot of the kind of tech that people could use in there. If you don't know what that is, go and check that out on Amazon. But yeah, thank you so much for spending your time with us this afternoon. That's it from us here at Boostly for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We know there's a lot of places you can put your attention. We really appreciate you putting it with us. So yeah, thank you very much. That's bye from me, and that's bye from Ryan.
Thanks, Liam. Have a good one.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Boostly podcast. Boostly like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely.